In my previous video, I showed you how I used a time difference of arrival technique to estimate the source locations of the gunshots that were fired during the assassination attempt on President Trump. Since then, I fixed a mistake in my source code that was causing error, and I did a lot of work to properly map the movements of the TMX and DJ Stu cameras. Previously, I thought that TMX started out here for shot 1, but they were actually here. I was able to determine that by comparing the Dave Stewart video to the TMX video. Here, the Stewart video shows the man in the Chevrolet shirt standing near the fence at 44 seconds before shot 1. In the TMX video, we see the same man at 3.4 seconds before shot 1. So I placed TMX at this location for shot 1. Then, 3.5 seconds before shot 10, TMX is in this location, where the line of sight shows the tree and the sides of the barn. I drew a perspective line for that here, and that's how I derived TMX's position for shots 7 through 9. In the 10 seconds between shots 9 and 10, TMX moved to this position, which I was able to derive by drawing a perspective line from the tree through the antenna shown in this frame grab at 1.6 seconds before shot 10. I did similar work to derive the position of Dave Stewart's camera. A video taken from this location in the stands behind Trump shows where Stewart was during shot 1.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look what happened.
And at shot 4, he was at a position due south of the front of the AGR building, as can be seen here. I also added a fifth data source for the gunshot timing. This gave me a third stationary source in addition to the Ross and Podium videos. I already discussed the TDOA technique in my previous video, so I won't spend any time explaining it now, but I will show you how nice the TDOA curves look now that I've got all of the sound source positions and movements figured out. This plot shows the TDOA curves for shot 1. They are drawn on a map grid with each square representing 50 meters. Each curve traces the paths on the map where it would be possible for the sound to emanate from, given a certain measured time difference. The color of the curve tells us which pair of sound receivers we're describing, as shown in the legend here. The greater the time difference between the two receivers, the steeper the slope of the hyperbola. Obviously, the place where multiple curves intersect identifies the precise location of the sound source. As you can see, the hyperbolas intersect nicely, showing us that the error is small. Now, let's step through the rest of the gunshots. Notice that they intersect nicely near the correct answer. Shot 5 is the one I chose for the ground truth time hack to synchronize the timelines of the 5 recordings. So that's why the lines all intersect perfectly for shot 5. Now, let's take a look at the results on Google Earth. Here is the data that results from using the triangle formed by Ross, the police cruiser, and the podium. You can see that we get a nice tight cluster here for shots 1 through 8. It has a radius of about 1 meter. So, how many shooters were there on July 13? This analysis proves that all of the 8 shots came from a single location, so there was only one shooter. To be clear, the analysis does not prove that the shots came from this particular spot, but if you believe that any of the 8 shots came from this location, then you can be sure that they all did. What happens to the result if we use one of the data sources that was moving? Here's what the gunshots look like for the triangle formed by Ross, TMX, and the podium. In this case, I'm assuming that TMX was stationary, fixing their location at shot 5. I did this so you can see how much difference it makes to have a moving recorder whose movements are not being tracked. What happened to shots 1, 2, and 3? Here they are, over here. As you can see, having sound recorders in motion can be a challenge. But here's what it looks like when I get the movements of the TMX recorder properly tracked. We get a nice, tight cluster with a spread of about 4 meters. Let's do the same thing for the TDOA triangle formed by Ross, Stewart, and the podium. If I don't track the motion of Stewart, shots 1, 2, and 3 end up here to the northeast. However, once I get the motion tracked properly, we get a cluster with a spread of about 4 meters. A lot of people have speculated that there could have been a second shooter. So what if one or more of the 8 shots had been fired from some other location near here? Like from a window, perhaps. So let's see what happens if we choose this second floor window over here for shot 5. If we do that, here are the results. So as you can see, all 8 shots are spread out here with a spread of about 7 meters. So as I've said before, without time sync recorders, the TDOA technique cannot pinpoint the origin of any of the shots. But if you see the algorithm with the correct ground truth, it will tell you where the other shots came from. So there you have it. There was one shooter, and I'm quite sure of that. I am less sure, however, of the exact locations for shots 9 and 10. I was hoping that adding the cruiser data would bring clarity to the situation there, but it didn't. It raised even more questions for me to look into, and so I've been doing that. I've made this TOA dataset publicly available for anyone who would like to check my results or add their own outlook on this analysis. The download link for the data is in the description for this video. Thanks for watching.